The vast emptiness of space stretched endlessly around the Galactic Alliance fleet. What was once a proud armada of over 10,000 ships had been reduced to barely 3,000 vessels. They moved slowly through the darkness of the Andromeda sector, their engines straining after years of constant use without proper maintenance. Inside the lead ship, the Eternal Dawn, Commander Lyran stood with his forearms clasped behind his back. His scaled skin had lost its once vibrant blue color, now a pale reminder of better days. His large eyes, designed to see in multiple light spectrums, stared at the main view screen where another light had just gone out. That was the Keldari outpost, said Officer Narration, her voice soft with grief. Unlike Lyran, she had 6 limbs and skin that shifted colors with her emotions. Currently, it was a deep gray of mourning. Their beacon held out longer than we expected. Lyran nodded slowly. They bought us another day with their sacrifice. He turned to face the Alliance Council members who had gathered on the bridge. There were only 7 of them now, each representing what remained of once thriving civilizations. How many made it off the outpost? Council member Zev, whose body resembled what humans might call an upright feline, checked his datapad. 43 ships. Mostly civilian transports. They will join us within 6 hours. And the Voidborn? Lyran asked, though he already knew the answer. Still coming, replied Tactical Officer Revik, a being made of crystalline structures that clinked softly as he moved. Their swarm has consumed the outpost completely. Our sensors indicate they have grown by approximately 3% since our last reading. A heavy silence fell over the bridge. For nearly 10 years, the Alliance fleet had been running. The Voidborn had appeared at the edge of their known space without warning, a vast cloud of darkness that devoured everything it touched. Planets, stars, even the vacuum of space itself seemed to be consumed, leaving absolute nothingness behind. The 17 species of the Galactic Alliance had once controlled over 600 star systems. Now they were refugees carrying the last 2.3 million survivors of their civilizations on a desperate journey to nowhere. Commander, said Science Officer Narration, breaking the silence, I have completed my calculations. At our current speed and with our remaining resources, total system failure will begin in approximately 20 solar cycles. She hesitated before adding, the Voidborn will overtake us in 15. Council member Elorian, whose translucent body pulsed with bioluminescent light, spoke up. Then we have no choice. We must send the scout ship to where? Asked Zev, frustration evident in his voice. We've sent scouts in every direction. There is nothing out there that can help us. Not every direction, Lyran said quietly. He moved to the star map display and pointed to a spiral galaxy far from their position. There is one place we haven't tried. The council members exchanged nervous glances. They all knew what Lyran was suggesting. The signals from that galaxy are primitive, said Revik. If there is intelligent life there, they would be centuries behind our technology. Yet their signals are unlike anything in our records, countered Narration. There is something unique about them. Lyran straightened his tired body. We have run out of options and nearly out of time. Even if we find only a habitable planet where some of our people can hide, it would be better than complete extinction. After hours of debate, the Alliance Council finally approved the plan. Their fastest remaining scout ship, the Whisper of Hope, was prepared for the dangerous journey. It would take their best pilot through territories unknown, carrying genetic samples of all 17 species and archives of their histories. As the crew made final preparations, Lyran stood in the launch bay, watching as supplies were loaded. Pilot Sora approached him, her humanoid form distinguished by the metallic sheen of her skin and eyes that glowed with an inner light. Commander, she said with a formal salute, the Whisper is ready. I can depart within the hour. Lyran placed one of his 4 hands on her shoulder. This mission may be one way, Sora. The power required for such a jump might burn out the engines completely. Sora nodded. I understand. But if there's even a chance of finding help or a safe haven, it's worth the risk. If you find intelligent life, Lyran said, approach with caution. We cannot know how they will react to us. I will be careful, she promised. And I will send word as soon as I can. Across the fleet, word of the mission spread. For many, it offered the first glimmer of hope they had felt in years. Some gathered in viewing areas to watch as the scout ship made final preparations. On the bridge of the Eternal Dawn, Lyran and the Council waited for the launch countdown. The atmosphere was tense but filled with a desperate hope. Scout ship whisper of hope requesting final clearance, came Sora's voice over the communication system. Clearance granted, Liran replied. May the stars guide your path, Pilot Sora. Initiating jump drive in 10 seconds, she responded. The bridge crew watched on their screens as the small scout ship's engines glowed brighter. The experimental jump drive was their most advanced technology, capable of crossing vast distances by briefly slipping between dimensions. 5 seconds, announced Sora. 4, 3, 2. Suddenly, all sensor screens on the bridge lit up with urgent warnings. Commander, shouted Rivik. Something is approaching. Fast, Voidborn? Liran asked, his heart's racing. No, replied Naraket, frantically checking readings. Unknown vessel. It just appeared at the edge of our sensor range. Its speed is impossible. Abort the jump, ordered Liran. Pilot Sora, hold position. The scout ship's engines dimmed as Sora acknowledged the command. Put it on screen, Liran said, bracing himself for yet another threat. The main view screen shifted to show a section of space near the fleet's position. At first there was nothing. Then a point of light appeared, growing rapidly. Within moments it resolved into a ship unlike any they had seen before. It was small, perhaps capable of holding only a few dozen crew members. Its design was blocky and utilitarian, lacking the organic flowing lines of Alliance vessels. Most strange were the markings on its hull, symbols completely unknown to their translation. Systems, it's on an intercept. Course, reported Revik. But it's slowing. Down to scan it, ordered Liran Naraket. Worked quickly at her station. The technology is primitive compared to ours. Yet its propulsion system is operating on principles I've never seen. It appears to be creating some kind of bubble around itself that allows it to... She stopped, her skin flashing yellow with surprise. Commander, there are life forms aboard. Bipedal, internal skeleton, carbon-based. They appear similar to several of our species, but with significant biological differences. Are they attempting communication? Asked Council Member Elorian. Yes, confirmed Communications Officer Terran, whose insectoid features clicked with excitement. They're broadcasting on multiple frequencies. The pattern suggests a peaceful greeting. Liran felt the weight of 3,000 ships and 2.3 million lives on his shoulders as he made his decision. Open a channel. Let's find out who our visitors are. On the bridge screen, the image of the strange ship was replaced by a view of its interior. Standing there was a bipedal being with light brown skin, dark hair, and only 2 arms and legs. It wore some kind of uniform with unfamiliar insignia. The being spoke, its mouth moving to produce sounds that meant nothing to them. Run it through the translators, Liran ordered. For tense moments, the computer systems worked to decipher the alien language. Then, broken and imperfect, words began to come through. This is Captain Alex Rivera of the Earth vessel Frontier. We come in peace and offer assistance. Please respond if you understand our transmission. Liran stepped forward, hope cautiously rising within him for the first time in years. This is Commander Liran of the Galactic Alliance flagship Eternal Dawn. We receive your transmission, Captain Rivera of Earth. Your arrival is unexpected, but perhaps fortunate. Behind him, the Alliance Council members watched in amazement as a new chapter in their desperate journey began to unfold. Captain Alex Rivera of the Earth vessel Frontier stared at the view screen in disbelief. What should have been a routine test flight to the edge of the solar system had gone terribly wrong. The experimental Alcubierre warp drive had malfunctioned during its first full-power activation, catapulting the Frontier and its crew of 15 across an impossible distance. Now they faced thousands of alien ships unlike anything humans had ever imagined. Are you seeing this? Alex asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The bridge crew sat frozen at their stations, eyes wide with shock. Lisa Morales, the communications officer, was the first to recover. Captain, I'm detecting transmissions between the vessels. Thousands of them, and... She paused, adjusting her headset. There's something else behind them. Something big. On screen, Alex ordered. The view shifted to show what lay beyond the alien fleet. The crew gasped collectively. A darkness moved through space, consuming everything in its path. It wasn't a ship or a fleet. It seemed like a living shadow, blacker than the void between stars. What the hell is that? Asked Lieutenant John Kelly, the tactical officer. His hands moved quickly over his console. Sensors can't get a clear reading. It's like it's eating the sensor beams. Captain, called Dr. Samantha Wright from her station. The alien ships are broadcasting some kind of message. It's not in any language I recognize, but the pattern suggests a communication attempt. Alex straightened his uniform jacket. The mission had been a simple test of the new drive system. The Frontier wasn't a military vessel, despite its impressive size and the experimental technology it carried. It was a research ship with a crew of scientists, engineers, and a minimal security team. Now they were face to face with what appeared to be humanity's first contact with alien life. Dr. Wright, work with the ship's AI to establish communication. Lisa, broadcast standard greeting messages on all frequencies. John, keep sensors focused on that dark mass. I want to know what we're dealing with. The bridge burst into activity as the crew carried out their orders. Dr. Wright, a xenolinguist who had spent her career developing theoretical frameworks for alien communication, had never expected to test her theories so soon. She worked frantically with the ship's advanced AI system to analyze the incoming transmissions. The computer is finding patterns, she reported after several minutes. It's not like anything we've theorized, but there are consistencies. The AI is building a translation matrix. How long? Alex asked. Hours, maybe. Days to get it perfect, she said, then looked up with surprise. Wait, the aliens are adapting their signals. They're changing the format to match ours. They must have more advanced translation technology. On the main screen, the image of an alien appeared. It had blue-scaled skin, 4 arms, and large eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. More aliens stood behind it, each a different species with wildly varying forms. One appeared almost feline, another seemed made of crystal, while others defied easy description. The blue alien spoke, and to everyone's amazement, broken English came through their speakers. This is Commander Liran of Galactic Alliance flagship Eternal Dawn. Your arrival is unexpected. Who are you? Alex stepped forward. I am Captain Alex Rivera of the Earth vessel Frontier. We are explorers from the planet Earth. Our presence here was accidental. Our drive system malfunctioned. The translation seemed to work both ways as the alien commander nodded in understanding. Captain Rivera of Earth, your arrival may be fortunate timing. We are in great danger. The darkness you see behind us is called the Voidborn. It consumes all life. We are last survivors of 17 civilizations. We run for many years, but soon we cannot run more. Dr. Wright whispered to Alex. Their translation system is incredible. It's learning our language structure in real time. Alex nodded and addressed Commander Liran again. What exactly is this Voidborn? Our sensors can't get clear readings. The alien's large eyes blinked slowly. Voidborn is living darkness. It exists partly in normal space, partly in other dimensions. It consumes matter, energy, even space itself. Our weapons cannot harm it. We lose hundreds of worlds to it. Lieutenant Kelly spoke up from his station.
Captain, I'm getting better readings now.
That thing is massive, at least the size of our solar system, and it's moving at a significant fraction of light speed. The alien commander continued. We carry last 2.3 million survivors of our peoples. Our ships fail. We have maybe 15 solar cycles before Voidborn catches us. Alex felt the weight of this information settle on his shoulders. What had begun as a test flight had become something far more significant. Humanity's first contact with alien life was with refugees fleeing extinction. Commander Liran, we don't have weapons that could fight something like that either. The Frontier is a research vessel, but perhaps we can help in other ways. Would you permit some of our crew to visit your ship? We might find solutions together. The alien commander conferred with the others before responding. Yes, we welcome your help, Captain Rivera of Earth. You may send small team to Eternal Dawn. Within an hour, Alex had assembled a team consisting of Dr. Wright, Chief Engineer Paul Nguyen, Dr. Daniel Garcia, the ship's physicist, and Lieutenant Kelly for security. They boarded a shuttle and crossed the space between the Frontier and the massive alien flagship. The docking bay of the Eternal Dawn was enormous, designed to accommodate vessels of many different shapes and sizes. As the Earth shuttle touched down, the humans saw hundreds of aliens watching them with expressions they couldn't read, but sensed were hopeful. Commander Liran greeted them personally, along with the 7 members of what he called the Alliance Council, each representing a different species. Welcome to Eternal Dawn, said Liran, his translator now producing clearer English. You are first new species we encounter in peaceful way for many generations. Dr. Wright stepped forward. Thank you for welcoming us. We have much to learn from each other. Please follow, said Liran. We take you to main command center. There we show you everything about our situation. As they walked through the massive ship, the humans were overwhelmed by the alien technology and the diversity of life forms they encountered. Despite the obvious signs of wear and damage throughout the vessel, the advanced nature of the Alliance technology was clear. In the command center, the Alliance Council showed them detailed records of their flight from the Voidborn. Holographic displays demonstrated how entire star systems had been consumed, leaving absolute nothingness behind. The Voidborn started at edge of our space, explained Council member Ilorian, whose body glowed with internal light. We tried fighting, failed, tried negotiating, failed. It does not communicate. It only consumes. Dr. Garcia studied the sensor readings with growing concern. This entity seems to exist partially in subspace. That would explain why conventional weapons are ineffective. Chief Engineer Nguyen examined the schematics of the Alliance ships. Your technology is incredible, but I see why you're having problems. These systems were never designed to run this long without proper maintenance. Lieutenant Kelly had been quiet, but now he spoke up. Commander Liran, how many of your ships still have weapon capabilities? Less than half, replied the crystalline alien named Revik. And our weapons do nothing against Voidborn. But they might buy time, Kelly suggested. Captain Rivera had been studying the star maps. Commander, what was your plan before we arrived? Liran gestured to a small, sleek ship in the docking bay. We were preparing to send scout ship to your galaxy, looking for safe place or potential allies. It was last hope. Alex looked at his team, then back to the Alliance Council. Perhaps there's another option. The Frontier's warp drive operates on principles that might be useful against the Voidborn. If it exists partially in subspace, the field our drive creates might disrupt it. For the first time, a flicker of real hope appeared in Commander Liran's eyes. You would help us? You just met us. This is not your fight. Alex looked around at the command center, at the tired but determined aliens who had fought so long to preserve their peoples. Where I come from, we have a saying, the right thing to do is rarely the easy thing to do. We can't turn our backs on 2.3 million lives. He extended his hand in the human gesture of agreement. Commander Liran, Earth stands with the Alliance. The days following first contact were filled with frantic activity, as humans and aliens worked together to find a way to fight the Voidborn. The Alliance Council had provided the Earth team with a large section of the Eternal Dawn to use as their base of operations. Chief Engineer Paul Nguyen led the human efforts, working tirelessly alongside Alliance engineers to understand each other's technology. Their power systems are incredible, Paul said as he examined the glowing energy matrix that powered the alien flagship. They use quantum entanglement to transfer energy across their entire fleet simultaneously. That's decades beyond what we can do. Science Officer Naraket's skin shifted to a shade of curious orange as she studied the schematics of the Frontier's warp drive. And your method of creating subspace bubbles is unlike anything we have seen. We use jump drives that move our ships between points almost instantly, but they require enormous power and cannot be used frequently. Dr. Daniel Garcia, the Frontier's physicist, had been quiet for hours as he analyzed the Alliance's data on the Voidborn. Finally, he looked up from his workstation with excitement in his eyes. I think I understand why your weapons haven't worked against the Voidborn, he announced to the room of mixed species. According to these readings, the Voidborn exists simultaneously in normal space and subspace. It's like trying to kill a fish by shooting at its reflection on the water surface. Commander Liran and several council members moved closer to hear Dr. Garcia's explanation. Can you explain in simpler terms? Asked Liran. Dr. Garcia nodded. The Voidborn that you see and that your weapons target is only part of its true form. The rest exists in another dimension. To truly harm it, we need weapons that can affect both parts simultaneously. And do humans have such weapons? Asked Council Member Zev, his feline eyes narrowing with interest. Not exactly, admitted Dr. Garcia, but our warp drive might be the starting point. It was designed to manipulate the boundary between normal space and subspace. A spark of hope spread through the alien representatives. For the first time in years, they had a potential way to fight back against their enemy. The combined team quickly organized into specialized groups, each focused on a different aspect of the problem. On the bridge of the Frontier, Captain Alex Rivera was engaged in another critical task. Lisa, do you think we can modify our communication array to send a message back to Earth? Communications Officer Lisa Morales frowned in concentration. The distance is enormous, Captain, But if we use the tachyon burst system meant for emergency signals and amplify it through the Alliance's quantum relay network, we might reach Earth. Make it happen, Alex ordered. They need to know what we've found out here, and that we need help. Lieutenant John Kelly joined them carrying data pads filled with Alliance tactical information. Sir, I've been analyzing their combat records against the Voidborn. There's a pattern to how it attacks. It doesn't just consume everything at once. It seems to target communication and weapon systems first, then propulsion. It's intelligent, Alex realized. Not just a force of nature. Yes, sir, agreed Kelly. And that means it can be outsmarted. Back in the technology exchange area, Chief Engineer Paul had made a breakthrough. He stood before a holographic display showing a hybrid design that combined human and Alliance components. We can modify your energy weapons with elements from our warp field generators, he explained to the alien engineers. The result would be a weapon that creates a resonance field, affecting both normal space and subspace simultaneously. Will it destroy Voidborn? Asked Revik, the crystalline tactical officer. I don't know if anything can destroy something that large completely, Paul admitted, but it should disrupt its structure enough to harm it, maybe even drive it away. Dr. Wright, who had been working with the Alliance linguists to improve their translation systems, joined the conversation. The Alliance database shows that the Voidborn has avoided certain types of stars in its path. Specifically, pulsars and binary systems with high electromagnetic interference. That suggests it can be affected by certain energy patterns. The days turned into weeks as the work continued. The humans were amazed by the resilience of the Alliance species despite their desperate situation. Even children helped with tasks they could manage, everyone working toward survival. In turn, the Alliance members were impressed by the humans' creativity and willingness to try approaches they considered impossible. Captain Rivera authorized the dismantling of the Frontier's warp drive to use its components for the prototype weapon. The ship won't be going anywhere until we solve this anyway, he told his concerned crew. And Earth won't help us if they never learn what happened to us. The message to Earth was sent using the combined human-alien communication system. There was no way to know if it would reach its destination or how long it might take. All they could do was continue their work and hope. Dr. Garcia worked closely with Nareket on the theoretical aspects of the weapon. The dimensional resonance effect should create a cascade that forces the Voidborn's subspace component into normal space, where it becomes vulnerable, he explained as they finalized the designs. If this works, Nareket replied, her skin now a hopeful blue-green. You will have saved 17 civilizations with one idea. After 3 weeks of non-stop work, the first prototype of what they called the Dimensional Resonance Cannon was ready for testing. It was mounted on a small unmanned Alliance scout ship. The test target was not the Voidborn itself, but a small piece of material collected from the edge of the Voidborn's path, which showed similar properties to the main entity. The command centers of both the Frontier and the Eternal Dawn were packed with anxious observers as the test began. The scout ship positioned itself at a safe distance from the fleet and aimed at the contained sample. On the view screens, everyone watched as the weapon powered up, creating a visible distortion in space around its emitter. Firing in 3, 2, 1, counted Lieutenant Kelly, who was controlling the test remotely. A beam of energy unlike anything either humans or aliens had seen before shot from the cannon. It wasn't a straight line but seemed to twist in and out of visible space as it traveled. When it struck the sample container, there was no explosion. Instead, the sample material seemed to shudder and then partially collapse in on itself, releasing a burst of exotic particles. Sensors on both ships recorded the data as excitement built among the observers. Dr. Garcia and the Alliance scientists rushed to analyze the results. It worked, Dr. Garcia announced after several tense minutes. The resonance effect forced 37% of the sample's mass into normal space where it destabilized. A cheer went up from both human and alien crew members. It wasn't a complete solution yet, but it was proof that their theory was correct. The Voidborn could be hurt. We need to scale this up, said Paul Nguyen. Way up, that was just a tiny sample. The real Voidborn is the size of a solar system. Commander Liran stepped forward, addressing the combined teams. We will convert as many ships as possible to carry these new weapons. Every vessel that can be armed will be armed. Captain Rivera nodded in agreement. And we'll continue refining the design. This was just the first test. As they spoke, a communications officer from the Alliance rushed into the room. Commander Liran, Captain Rivera, we're receiving a transmission. It's from Earth. All eyes turned to the main view screen as the message came through. The quality was poor, filled with static and distortion, but the meaning was clear enough. Frontier, this is Earth Command. We received your transmission. Situation understood. Hold position. Help is coming. Repeat, help is coming. Captain Rivera looked at Commander Liran, both leaders sharing a moment of renewed hope. How long will it take them to reach us? Asked Liran. I don't know, admitted Alex. They would need to build more ships with warp capability. That could take months. Then we must survive for months, said Liran with new determination. Thanks to your people, for the first time in 10 years, that seems possible. 3 months passed since the message from Earth. The Alliance fleet had changed course toward the Narcillian Nebula, a region of space where unusual radiation patterns might help amplify the effects of their new weapons. The Voidborn continued its pursuit, but the fleet had managed to maintain its distance thanks to improvements in the Alliance engines based on Earth technology. Commander Liran stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dawn, studying the tactical display showing the position of his ships relative to the approaching Voidborn. Over the past months, his blue scales had regained some of their color, as hope returned to his people. Captain Alex Rivera stood beside him, looking tired but determined. Both leaders had worked without rest to prepare their forces for what was to come. Our engineers have converted 812 ships with the resonance technology, reported Revik, the crystalline tactical officer. That's all we can manage with the materials we have. It will have to be enough, said Liran. How long until we reach the nebula? Approximately 14 hours, answered Naraket from her science station. Her skin had settled into a determined purple hue. The radiation levels are already increasing. It should enhance the resonance effect by at least 27%. Alex nodded, then turned as Lisa Morales approached with a data pad. Captain, we've been monitoring the long-range sensors continuously as you ordered. There's still no sign of the Earth fleet. Alex tried to hide his disappointment. They'll come. Building warp-capable ships takes time. The Voidborn is accelerating, announced Revik suddenly. It will reach our position in 16 hours. The command crew fell silent. They would barely make it to the nebula before the Voidborn caught them. This would be their one chance to make a stand. Alert all ships, ordered Liran. Prepare for battle positions once we enter the nebula. Civilian vessels to the center of the formation, armed ships to the perimeter. Sir, called out an Alliance sensor operator, his insect-like appendages clicking rapidly over his console. I'm detecting unusual energy signatures at coordinates 227 Mark 84. Voidborn reinforcements? Asked Alex, tension rising in his voice. No, replied the operator. The pattern is... It's similar to the Frontier's warp signature. Every eye on the bridge turned toward the main view screen as it shifted to show the distant sector of space. At first, there was nothing. Then, like ripples in a pond, space itself seemed to distort. A bright flash followed, then another and another. Suddenly, the sensors were lighting up with hundreds of new contacts. That's a warp field collapse pattern, whispered Lisa. Multiple ships dropping out of warp. As they watched, vessels of all shapes and sizes appeared where there had been only empty space moments before. Most were clearly human in design, blocky, utilitarian, but bristling with newly installed weapons. Mixed among them were ships that appeared to be civilian vessels hastily converted for combat. The communications system suddenly crackled to life. Alliance Fleet, this is Admiral Catherine Chen of the Earth Defense Fleet. We received your coordinates and have arrived with 189 vessels. We stand ready to assist. A cheer erupted across the bridge of the Eternal Dawn. Alex grabbed a communication headset. Admiral Chen, this is Captain Rivera of the Frontier. Your timing couldn't be better. We're headed to the Narcillian Nebula to make our stand against the Voidborn. It will reach us in less than 16 hours. Understood, Captain, replied the calm voice of Admiral Chen. We've brought the resonance weapon technology you transmitted and have equipped all our vessels. We've also brought reinforcements and supplies. Commander Liran stepped forward. Admiral Chen of Earth, this is Commander Liran of the Alliance. We welcome your arrival and are grateful for your assistance. Commander Liran, humanity stands with the Alliance, Admiral Chen responded. We've mobilized everything we could. Every nation on Earth contributed to this fleet. The Earth ships moved to join the Alliance formation, their engines flaring as they matched speed. Alliance sensors scanned the newcomers with amazement. "They've brought medical supplies, food, raw materials, and weapons," reported Council member Elorian, the data scrolling across his translucent form. "They even brought construction equipment to repair our most damaged vessels." A smaller craft detached from the main Earth fleet and approached the Eternal Dawn. "Captain Rivera, Commander Liran request permission to come aboard," came a new voice. "Major Frank Harrison, commanding the Earth Marine Special Forces. We've brought ground troops in case they're needed." Within hours, the Earth fleet had integrated with the Alliance formation. Supplies were distributed to the most needy vessels, and joint tactical planning sessions began immediately. Admiral Chen and her command staff transferred to the Eternal Dawn to coordinate directly with the Alliance leadership. Admiral Chen was a tall woman with steel gray hair and the confident bearing of someone used to command. She brought with her tactical officers, engineers, and scientists ready to contribute their expertise. "Our ships aren't as advanced as yours," she explained to the Alliance Council, "but we've brought numbers and determination. Earth united like never before when we received your message. Every resource was diverted to this mission." Major Harrison, a broad-shouldered man with intense eyes, outlined the capabilities of his forces. "My Marines are trained for zero-gravity combat and have been equipped with resonance-modified weapons. If any portion of the Voidborn materializes in a form we can engage directly, we'll be ready." As the combined fleet approached the nebula, the bridge of the Eternal Dawn became a center of frantic activity. Human and alien officers worked side by side, developing battle strategies against an enemy that had never been successfully fought before. Dr. Garcia and Nara Ket had developed a more refined model of how the Voidborn might react to their weapons. "The resonance effect should cascade through its structure," Dr. Garcia explained to the assembled commanders. "Areas that are forced fully into normal space will become vulnerable to conventional weapons. Then we hit those areas with everything we have," said Major Harrison. Admiral Chen outlined the formation she proposed. "Earth ships will take the forward positions. Our vessels are newer and can absorb more damage. Alliance ships with resonance weapons will form a second line to concentrate fire on any weak points we identify." Commander Liran studied the proposed battle plan, then nodded in agreement. "It is a good strategy. The Alliance Council approves." As they neared the nebula, Captain Rivera took a moment to stand by a viewport, gazing at the combined fleet. Earth ships, crude but sturdy, flew alongside the elegant vessels of the Alliance. It was an impossible sight, yet there it was. Two completely different civilizations united against extinction. "Quite a view, isn't it?" said Admiral Chen, joining him. "I never imagined I'd see anything like this," Alex replied. "When the Frontier's warp drive malfunctioned, I thought we were doomed. Now look at us. Humanity has always been at its best when facing its greatest challenges," said the Admiral. "When your message reached Earth, there was never any question about whether we would help. The debate was only about how quickly we could get here." On the main bridge, the sensor operators announced their arrival at the nebula. The massive cloud of gas and dust glowed with strange energies, blue and purple light shifting through its structure. The Alliance fleet began moving into defensive positions, with Earth ships taking their places in the formation. "Voidborn approaching," reported Revik. 12 hours until contact." Commander Liran addressed the combined fleet. His message transmitted to every vessel. "Alliance and Earth forces, we face our greatest challenge. For 10 years we have fled before the Voidborn. Today we stand and fight. Today we determine if our civilizations live or die. Thanks to our Earth allies, we have hope. Prepare for battle." Admiral Chen added her own message. "Earth stands with the Alliance. We came from across the stars to help because that's what humans do. We help those in need. Every ship, fight with everything you have. Show the Voidborn that united we cannot be consumed." Throughout both fleets, crews made final preparations. Weapons were checked, systems were tested, and last messages were sent to loved ones. On the Eternal Dawn, Commander Liran and Captain Rivera stood together, watching as the Voidborn's darkness became visible at the edge of their sensor range. "Whatever happens," said Alex, "it has been an honor to fight alongside you and your people." Liran placed one of his 4 hands on Alex's shoulder, in a gesture he had learned from humans. "The Alliance will never forget what Earth has done for us. Today we write a new history for both our peoples. The combined fleet of Earth and Alliance vessels hovered at the edge of the Narcillian Nebula, weapons charged and crews at battle stations. The swirling gases of the nebula created a backdrop of purple and blue light that would have been beautiful under any other circumstances. Instead, all eyes were on the approaching darkness that consumed everything in its path. Commander Olivia Martinez sat in the cockpit of her fighter, leading the first attack wing of Earth vessels. She had been a test pilot back on Earth before volunteering for this mission. Now she commanded 30 similar craft, each equipped with the new resonance weapons. Attack Wing Alpha, report in, she called over the comm system. One by one, her pilots confirmed they were ready. Most had never expected to fight an alien enemy, let alone alongside alien allies. Yet here they were, humanity's first line of defense against a threat they had only learned about months ago. On the bridge of the Eternal Dawn, Commander Liran and Admiral Chen watched as the Voidborn approached. The massive entity seemed to absorb light itself, creating an ever-expanding zone of absolute darkness that defied sensor analysis. "It's scanning us," reported Naraket, her skin shifting to an alarmed yellow. "It's never done that before. It usually just attacks. It senses the new weapons," suggested Captain Rivera. "It recognizes the threat. All ships prepare to engage," ordered Admiral Chen. "Remember your training. Target any areas that materialize into normal space after the resonance weapons hit." Commander Liran added, "Civilian vessels, maintain position at the center of our formation. This entity is intelligent and targets weaknesses. Do not break formation under any circumstances." The final minutes before contact were strangely quiet. Throughout both fleets, crews made peace with whatever fate awaited them. They had come too far to retreat. This was the moment that would determine the future of 18 civilizations. "Voidborn entering weapon range in 30 seconds, announced Revik. Commander Martinez, "You are cleared to engage." Admiral Chen's voice came through clearly on all channels. "Attack pattern Delta, may luck be with you." "Understood, Admiral," replied Olivia. "Alpha Wing, form up on me. Let's show this thing what Earth can do." The fighters accelerated forward, breaking from the main fleet in a perfect arrowhead formation. They were small and fast, difficult targets that could deliver the first strike and quickly retreat. 10 seconds to optimal firing range, called Olivia to her wing. "Remember, fire in sequence as planned. Don't bunch up your shots." The fighters entered the edge of the darkness, their running lights creating streaks against the absolute black. The resonance weapons hummed with power, creating a visible distortion around each craft. "Firing now," announced Olivia. Triggering her weapon, the resonance beam shot forward, twisting in and out of visible space before striking the darkness. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, like a ripple in a pond, an effect spread outward from the impact point. A section of the Voidborn seemed to shift, parts of it becoming visible as solid matter where before there had been only darkness. "It's working," shouted one of the pilots. "I can see it." One by one, the fighters fired their weapons, each shot creating another patch of materialized Voidborn matter. The entity reacted, tendrils of darkness reaching out toward the fighters. "Evasive maneuvers," ordered Olivia, rolling her craft away from a grasping tendril. Not all pilots were as quick. 2 fighters were caught and simply vanished, consumed by the darkness. "Main fleet, we have confirmed the resonance effect works," Olivia reported. "We've created multiple materialization points, moving to secondary attack positions." As the fighters pulled back, the main fleet opened fire. Hundreds of resonance weapons discharged simultaneously, their combined effect far greater than the fighters' initial strike. Massive sections of the Voidborn were forced into normal space, appearing as a strange, shifting mass that resembled nothing anyone had seen before. "All ships with conventional weapons, target the materialized sections," ordered Admiral Chen. The battle erupted in earnest as both fleets engaged the enemy. The Voidborn fought back, tendrils of darkness lashing out to seize ships and crush them. For every section that was forced into normal space and destroyed, another part of the entity seemed to learn and adapt. Hours passed as the battle raged across the nebula. Dozens of ships were lost, both human and alien. The Voidborn, for the first time in its existence, was taking damage, but its size was so vast that the losses seemed insignificant to its whole. "We're not making enough progress," reported Admiral Chen to the War Council on the Eternal Dawn. "We're hurting it." but not fast enough. At this rate, we'll lose too many ships before we can cause critical damage. Lieutenant Nicole Taylor, a pilot whose carrier had been destroyed early in the battle, had been reassigned to analyze sensor data. She had noticed something while studying the readings from multiple attacks. "Admiral Commander, I found something," she said, pointing to her display. "Look at these energy readings. When we hit these specific points with concentrated resonance fire, it causes a cascade effect throughout the Voidborn structure." Dr. Garcia leaned in to examine the data. "She's right. These appear to be node points, possibly where the entity maintains its connection between dimensions. If we target these specifically, we might cause much more significant damage. Can you identify these nodes?" asked Commander Liran. "Yes," replied Nicole. "They have a distinct energy signature. I can transmit targeting data to all ships." "Do it," ordered Admiral Chen. "All ships, recalibrate your targeting systems to focus on the coordinates Lieutenant Taylor is sending." The battle strategy shifted. Instead of attacking the Voidborn broadly, the fleet concentrated fire on the identified nodes. The effect was immediate and dramatic. As each node was hit with multiple resonance weapons, larger sections of the Voidborn were forced into normal space, where they became vulnerable to conventional attacks. The entity seemed to recognize the danger. It changed tactics, pulling back parts of itself and concentrating its attacks on ships that posed the greatest threat. Several Alliance vessels and Earth ships were lost in quick succession. "It's protecting the nodes," observed Captain Rivera. "We need to split its attention." Major Frank Harrison, who had been waiting with his Marines for an opportunity to contribute, offered a bold plan. "My teams can deploy an assault craft. While the main fleet targets one node, we can take smaller vessels in close to attack others." The plan was desperate but made sense. Commander Liran approved immediately, and Major Harrison's forces began launching in small, heavily armed craft designed to penetrate deep into enemy territory. The battle reached its climax as the combined fleet executed the new strategy. Earth ships and Alliance vessels worked in perfect coordination, their years of technological and cultural differences forgotten in the heat of battle. Major Harrison's team successfully reached 3 critical nodes, delivering resonance charges directly to these vulnerable points. The effect cascaded through the Voidborn. For the first time, the entity seemed to recoil in what could only be described as pain. Its attacks became erratic, less coordinated. More of its mass was forced into normal space where the fleet's weapons tore into it relentlessly. "It's working!" exclaimed Naraket, her skin bright with excitement. "The Voidborn's cohesion is failing. It's breaking apart." On the main view screen they watched as the massive entity began to fragment. Sections of it dissolved into normal space, while others seemed to flee back into the subspace dimensions. The coordinated intelligence that had made it so dangerous was fracturing. After 18 hours of continuous battle, what remained of the Voidborn began to retreat. It pulled away from the nebula, its darkness diminishing as it fled. The combined fleet, battered but victorious, regrouped. Of the nearly 3,000 ships that had begun the battle, just over 2,000 remained. Every vessel showed damage and the cost in lives had been high. But they had achieved what 17 civilizations had thought impossible. They had defeated the Voidborn. On the bridge of the Eternal Dawn, exhausted crew members embraced one another. Commander Liran approached Admiral Chen and Captain Rivera, his scaled face showing an expression they had learned to recognize as deep emotion. "For 10 years, my people ran from what we believed was certain extinction," he said. "In just a few months of knowing humanity, we found not just allies but saviors. The Alliance owes Earth a debt we can never repay." Admiral Chen shook her head. "There is no debt between friends, Commander. We did what any decent civilization would do." In the days that followed, the combined fleet began the long process of repair and recovery. The most damaged ships were salvaged for parts to fix others. The dead were honored in ceremonies that blended the traditions of 18 different cultures. Representatives from Earth and the Alliance gathered aboard the Eternal Dawn to discuss the future. The Alliance Council formally voted to rename itself the Galactic Confederation, with Earth designated as its newest member world. "Our isolation in the cosmos created a species uniquely suited to face this threat," Captain Rivera observed during the ceremony. "Perhaps that is the greatest lesson from this experience. Different perspectives combined can solve problems that neither could face alone."